Hi everybody, this is Angelique Tong from Letlovecometoyou with a very, very special guest, Sonia Miller, who is the author of a book that I would recommend everybody actually to read when you're really serious about law of attraction. And that book is called The Attraction Distraction, Why the Law of Attraction Doesn't Work for You and How to Get Results Finally. And Sonia actually is somebody who goes so much more deeper than a lot of the books that you might find that are bestsellers. And having studied her material and her book, I just really felt that she had to be in this program. And so today we spoke about what it really takes to create successful relationships with men, and specifically for energy-minded spiritual women. Sonia, tell people what can they learn when they're going to listen to our interview.
Well, we talked in great depth about really a very um, expanded, deeper way of looking at relationships, where we really start to look beyond the obvious, beyond the interactions that women and men have at a very human level, to really look at kind of like what I like to say under the hood, at an energy level, our relationship with our emotions, our relationship with ourselves, how to uh, really take something that's very emotional, our relationships with men triggers a lot of emotions, and shift from reacting to responding in a very powerful way, and how all of that really nurtures our feminine energy to really bring out the best in our relationships with men, and to experience much more fulfillment in how we connect with them.
Mm. And so I know that a lot of people, are actually caught up in, the easy, superficial ways of how they think they can attract their soulmate, and maybe even, this one elusive person that will make everything okay. Sonia, what do you see are the most common misunderstandings around, what it takes to attract this person into your life, and when they show up, how to stay in that, honeymoon or whatever it is that we're looking for with a soulmate or a twin soul.
Right. Well, I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make, at least if you're open to an energy perspective, is that women make their men, and men do this with women too, they make them their source of love, their source of connection, the source of all of the feelings that we're looking for in a relationship. And when we're willing to open up to an energetic perspective on relationships, we shift our attention from the man or the outcomes, all of the things that we're trying to control so it feels and looks the way we want it to. And we instead put our attention now back to our relationship with ourselves and with source energy. And by shifting our attention dramatically away from the man, and we focus on the essence of what we want by cultivating and nourishing that, all of a sudden our relationships start to reflect that. And there are very specific, concrete ways that we do this. And as somebody who's been coaching women in their relationships with men for a long time, it just never ceases to amaze me how such a profound yet simple paradigm shift, all of a sudden women start having completely different experiences with men. They start attracting the masculine energy they've been looking for, the intimacy, the passion, because they took their attention off of the man and looking at him as the source of what they want. They went back to their true source, which is their relationship with themselves and source energy. And then the men can really show up for them in a completely different way, much more what they really wanted.
What I really liked about, your program is actually the depth at which you go in terms of the spiritual principles, but also the practicality of list of things that we do that we should stop doing, and what we instead should be doing. And some of the tools that you give us, for instance, are around stop controlling, stop
Uh-huh.
criticizing, or stop demanding things from your man, which is like very hard to do, I have to say. If you are in a destructive cycle of, wanting a person to change, and your program is extremely clear about how these pitfalls actually create the opposite of the energy that we think we want from a blissful soulmate relationship. So we might actually have a soulmate in front of us, but because of the way we interact or react, as you said, instead of respond, to this other person, that is why relationships tend to be such a struggle. The other thing that I really loved about your program is also your emphasis on the difference between feminine and masculine energy. Could you say something a little bit more around that, and specifically for all the ambitious women out there who have everything that they want, but then this one elusive thing is missing, which is a man that they can feel like a woman with?
Absolutely. Well, those 2 points that you loved are very connected because there are so many powerful women out in the world now. But since, at least in America, and however that shows up culturally in different parts of the world, um, what I have seen happen is that women have experienced tremendous breakthroughs and opened up to opportunities in ways that really needed to happen. But they did that based on a masculine model of power. And so, since all of these things have opened up, good things have happened, but for men and women, there's been some confusion about masculine and feminine energy. And so, a woman who's very competent and capable and smart and is a mover and a shaker, makes things happen, can be very successful in the world. But she might be confusing, masculine and feminine energy and bringing a lot of masculine energy in a way that she just doesn't even realize. And that may work in certain areas of life, but if they want to have a relationship with a man where the man brings his masculine energy, she must bring feminine energy, because um, where a relationship where there's two masculine energies, there's only two things that can happen. Either the man will compete with her because she's being masculine, so that's what men do, is they compete, or he will step back and then she will assume the role as a masculine energy, and then she doesn't have the relationship she wants. So we definitely talk about very specific, concrete ways, like what does masculine energy look like and feel like? What does feminine energy look like and feel like? How do we speak? What words do we use? How are we with our body language? How are we with our way of engaging? There's just very specific ways that shows up, and then we get to practice being a whole new way. And what's really fun is when women start practicing this. On the one hand, those that are real powerhouses will start to feel very uncomfortable because they still don't feel powerful in it. It feels unfamiliar. But once they start to see things shifting with men, and men start pursuing them and giving to them and paying more attention to them, they think, oh my gosh, this is uncomfortable, but it's powerful and it's working and I'm seeing results. And then they start to open up to nourishing that feminine side. And the one thing that I didn't say during our talk that I just wanted to highlight is a powerful woman doesn't need to get rid of her masculine energies. All men and women have both masculine and feminine, and the masculine serves the woman in certain areas of life. However, if the feminine's been malnourished, it's an opportunity to discover a whole other dimension to their power, and then start to really bring that with skill, and really be even more powerful in their relationships and in the world.
And I totally resonate with that. What you're saying, that when you are very powerful and very, let's say, goal driven, and you have to be, assertive all the time because you're an entrepreneur or you're in corporate life, when you actually start discovering feminine energy, it is scary. It totally brings you out of your comfort zone, and you suddenly feel, instead of feeling natural or strong with men, you start feeling attracted to them, which is very scary. And you start feeling vulnerable, and you start feeling like a little girl again, or whatever it is. But whatever has happened ever since I was in your program and I started reading your book, I can tell you that, other men do show up. And, despite, because I show up in a different way, and these men are stepping up, and and there's just more and more of them in a way, and so the universe is showing me that because I don't have to be in this masculine energy anymore, being more powerful even than the men around me, that I can suddenly honor, as you would teach in your program, honor the greatness of men that is already there, because I don't somehow push against it, or I'm allowing it for them to give their presence to my life, and because I'm finally accepting it, for them to show it to me. Yeah, it's a huge profound transformation.
Right.
So yeah, the other thing that I really wanted to bring home was this thing around attachment. Can you say something about that? Because that is, I think, the biggest thing around law of attraction, because people want the lottery, they want the boyfriend, they want the baby, they want the house, and not knowing that that is the one thing that keeps it away, is that profound, almost desperate attachment. Like, why isn't it here yet? Why isn't it here yet? It's not working.
Right.
What are people
Right.
doing?
Yes. Well, attachment is the idea. Well, first of all, it's the experience and the feeling of I must have that thing.
Yes.
I have to get that loan so that I can fund my business. So we get attached to manifesting that loan, or I have to get that client because the client is my source of my income, or I have to have that man or that relationship because it's the source of my love or my passion or my companionship or the solution to my loneliness.
Mm,
So attachment is when we're really holding on tight to something in our physical world, thinking it's the source of a feeling that we want, which is love, freedom, peace, prosperity, whatever the feeling is, we're always chasing a feeling. But attachment actually pushes away the very thing that you want, because we are always creating from our consciousness, our energy, which is the sum total of our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions. Everything is energy. There's only one energy. Whatever energy we're being or holding is what we get back. And so when we're actually attached to something, the energy that we're actually putting out into the universe is, I need that thing outside of me because I am separate from it. I need that man, or I want that man because I am separate from love. I want or need that job. I'm attached to that job offering because it's the source of money or a solution to a problem. It's the solution. The money is separate from me, it's outside of me. And when we start to realize that nothing outside of us is our source, that there's only one source and infinite channels, and we redirect our attention from the external world to the internal world, where we connect with our true source of love, freedom, prosperity, security, safety. First of all, that's where it is. We're already one with it. And then we realize it already is here because source is wholeness. And we contemplate instead what I call the energy of having versus the energy of wanting. Then all of a sudden, the wanting and the separation and the lack starts to fall away. And we're now in the energy of having and oneness, and it can just start to show up in our lives. I mean, it's guaranteed, it always works that way.
yeah, but that is where people get into trouble, because their neurochemistry and their whole body sometimes has been conditioned to be in that wanting mode and to actually just see through the filter of not having. So then they just, even if they try to change their mind, their body is reacting in a way of despair or neediness. And so that is where, your tools around emotional self-management are so important, because you are not negating the fact that we do have to go through a, what we call, maybe arduous expansion process, through all the things that show up that might, create some discomfort, but they are there to actually show us where we need to grow and where we need to change our ways. And it's not a quick fix as well.
Right. It's not a quick fix, but for people who are called to this path, it is so worth it, because everything that they've always been looking for outside of themselves, they can finally truly allow it into their experience. And it isn't just about getting a bunch of stuff, but it's really about remembering that you are already whole and having a direct experience of it rather than always chasing something outside of you. And it's not a quick fix, but it is the solution and the answer that at the deepest part of our beings is what we've really been looking for. And we do this internal work, and then manifestation just happens. That's what's amazing is we take our attention off the thing, We focus on the true source of our well being. And then the physical world just rises up to meet our new consciousness of wholeness and happiness. So the relationships show up, the increase in prosperity, the well being, the peace, money flows, all of that starts to show up. Um, but you don't get to control any of it. You don't get to control how it happens, when it happens. It shows up. But if you're willing to surrender, it shows up in ways beyond what most of us can even imagine.
And it's so frustrating because actually, when it's bad, it gets worse. And when it's good, it gets better. But then you're thinking, why can't it be the reverse, you know? And so the little victim voice just goes up like, oh God, don't be so harsh on me, you know, or this stuff isn't working. But, anyways, actually, I found that whenever I was consistent in applying it and whenever I just found that tuning, the necessity to tune into who I really was, even though I had no clue what it was. I was just like, I surrendered to the bigger part of me, even though at this moment, I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what it feels like, but I'm willing to do it. Things would shift and answers would come. And it's that profound faith of something bigger than the small me and the small voice of fear that would always, lead me through somehow. So I want to invite people who want to learn more about this, what I would call paradigm shifting way of looking at law of attraction and looking at spirituality and energy principles. Definitely tune in, sign up, and listen to our interview because there's a lot you can learn. The last thing, Sonia, is that you always say if one thing resolves in your life, for instance, relationship, all the other things must go as well. Can you explain why that is?
Well, what the bottom line is that there's only one and everything's connected. So when you start to dissolve resistance in your relationships, when you start to dissolve the illusions of limitation and lack and disconnect, that resistance, those illusions, they are everywhere in your life because there's only one. And so that's the beautiful thing about any type of work that we do is you may be really focused on relationships, but I've seen this happen over and over again where you might be working on relationships, but your work life improves and prosperity improves, or all of a sudden health and well-being improves because it's all connected. So that's one of the things that makes the work worth it is when you shift in one place, everything starts to open up and shift.
Okay, great, great. Thank you so much, Sonia. I really enjoyed our interview, and looking forward to interviewing you about some of your other new programs that you might be, designing. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.